I make stuff for baking myself, hard boiled. Sometimes in the morning, I give the dogs a couple.
Eggs?
Scrambled.
You scrambled dog. Oh my gosh. I saw dog ice cream yesterday.
They've had it for years. We used to rep that at my old company. It's called what's it called?
Stupid. I don't know.
It's a dog ice cream, and we always had to finally start putting signs up because humans thought it was just a dog shape. So humans would buy that ice cream, and it's dog ice cream.
Stupid.
Wow. Okay.
She's like, whatever.
All right. So, this case, Chris Watts, the murder of his pregnant wife and his two daughters, it was awful doing it. And in fact, I think I told Elaine I'm not sure if I want to do it.
Did you guys watch the special on him? Yeah.
Yeah, I watched the Netflix thing and different stuff, but I knew the minute I saw him on TV, which we'll get to, that he did it because of his body language. But I think one reason it was so hard is like if you look back at the other cases we've done, these right back in the 60s, back in the 70s, before social media. And so it's like you could literally go back and see these little girls, her, just, and then also what really makes me angry is how she was treated post-death. Shanann. People like were blaming her, calling her a bee. I mean, it was awful. And so anyway, I think just was seeing all how recent it was and them living their lives online was really difficult. And there's one, we'll watch it, but just watching Bella sing to her dad was probably, oh, good grief.
Are you going over the details of how he killed the girls?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll step off that. I don't know. I just know tidbits.
Dang it. You got me out of my thing. Okay. So the town, let me pull up the website of it's in, they call it a statutory town. It's Frederick, Colorado. And they have like a miners memorial museum. They have a like little breweries and just lots of fun stuff. It looks
cool. Did you
looks
see
like
your image? That was awesome.
Yeah.
And then Anderson Farms, they have like, lots of neat food places. Look at this. This is Pearl Street.
Beautiful.
Flatirons. Here's the Miner Museum. So it's just one of those like really picturesque, family oriented places. And you would really call it a village. It reminds me of where my friend Cindy used to live in Monument. It has about 8,700 residents, and a little over 43% of the households in Frederick have children under the age of 18. So there's Celestial Seasons Tea Factory. I mean, they got grills, art. I mean, it just looks like a really, really neat place. And it's a small family town, but it's actually close to Denver. So you've got the small family town feel, but also you can go and do some fun things in Denver. And when I first heard of the case, I had no idea where Frederick was. And I may have even been through there or something when me and Cindy would go up to Denver with the kids. We took them to the museum there and stuff, and it was a lot of fun. But again, here we have a small community, even though they live, close to Denver. They're even probably considered part of Denver because there's, hardly any space between them. But I just thought, again, this shock wave that must have gone through that community. And if you type in Frederick, Colorado, the Watts come up. So now it's like that town is going to be forever tied to Chris Watts. And so it just, in fact, the main image it brings up when you type in Frederick, Colorado is the Watts home. And the home looks like, houses, I've seen hundreds of them when I go to visit her. I mean, they're, just a typical house. Now, Chris and Shanann they seem like a typical suburban family with 2.5 kids. You know, they were North Carolina natives, which I didn't know that until I started researching it. They met in 2010 and they were married on November 3rd, 2012. So in December 17th, 2013, little Bella Marie Watts was born. And then a year and a half later, Celeste, they called her Cece Watts, was born on July 17th, which is Kent's birthday, in 2015. Shanann worked from home selling a product called Thrive. I had never heard of it, but it's like a health patch, and you can see it in pictures. She'll have a patch on. I wondered what that was. It was a multi-level marketing called Lavelle. And then Chris worked at Anadarko Petroleum. And then at the time of the murders, little baby Nico was on the way. It was going to be their first boy. And so here's a family picture. And I mean, look at little, little,
Looks just like him.
So excited.
little Cece. And then there's the patch right there. So that was actually pretty close to when they were murdered. There they are on their wedding. And then this is, the very famous family photo that you see everywhere. At this point, he's already having an affair. He's already planning on killing them. This is another wedding photo. And what I find interesting is he's definitely heavier than it was right before he killed him.
Yep.
But when you look at these photos, there's no way by looking at him to tell anything was wrong.
No.
That's them at Disneyland. Or no, birthday party, sorry. But look at little Bella would do that a lot. She'd have her hands out like that and she'd grab a finger. I'm not sure why, but
So
anyway.
cute.
Okay. So Shanann seemed like a go-getter to me. She bought her first home when she was 25, which was a big achievement. But she also, at the time, suffered really bad from fibromyalgia and lupus.
Oh my word.
So she had both. And she was in the 80K club with Lavelle. So she was making some good money. She had to be making at least that. But by 2015, they had financial difficulties. And so they filed for bankruptcy and they needed relief from $448,000 of debt.
Holy
that
cow.
include a house, I guess?
You can't file bankruptcy on a house.
The house, typically they let you stay. So I don't know if it included the house, but normally when you file for bankruptcy, it does not include the house.
They won't take your
Jeez.
home. They won't take your dwelling from you.
Yeah. And then in July of 2018, they were sued by their homeowner association. The house that they lived in cost them $400K. And so when I look at the bankruptcy in 2015, being sued by their homeowners association, buying a house that's worth $400K, that's just a lot of financial pressure for a young family. So once again, we see this pattern, not excuse, but pattern of living beyond their means. That's very interesting to me. Now, police won't say, and never have they said, if the financial difficulties were a motive, but I'm sure it probably didn't help them.
Yeah.
Now, on top of that, so you got Shanann, who's a go-getter. I personally believe she was a D personality. Like me, she was probably a DI, actually, where I'm a DC. So she was going to be extra intense, extra, like probably bossy. I mean, D's, their sensitivity, things like that are not the best. So Chris, I think, was probably the total opposite. I think he was probably a C. He was either a CS or a SC, but I really wonder if he was a C dominantly. And so they're typically more introverted, quiet, reserved, analytical, and logical. Now, it could be wrong too, because stress can definitely, tamper down someone's personality. But like when I look at his clothes, not a lot of bright colors, very reserved, very well put together. How he carried himself, how he talked, and then even some of his text messages, I think he definitely had a high level of C. And the reason I bring this up is because of the hate that Shannon got, because D's can definitely appear bossy, pushy, and rude. And the way people really attacked her, I mean, it was visceral. Just their dislike of her was ridiculous. And some even felt sorry for Chris having to live with her.
That's sad.
Yeah. And I could see, because there was like one video where she's like, hey, I told you to have those out, and then she goes to the garage, like, you have to tell them to do everything. I mean, you could see that their personalities were definitely had times where they didn't mesh. So it's like, so like a D, if she asks her husband, hey, can you do this for me? He's like, yeah, sure. And then doesn't do it, or it's like weeks later, you're still waiting. That can be infuriating to a D. If
Well,
you're
compared to what he did, I don't know why hers would be so bad, because she's a little bossy.
right.
Well,
Well,
videos except when he was confessing. So
and then she would definitely be one where if you made her mad, you would know it. With a CS combo or an SC, if they don't have a lot of that D in them, you won't know. They'll just keep it pressed down and then they explode. And so that may be some of what happened. And I mean, I could tell you like just hundreds of hours of mentoring clients, whether personal, professional, marriage wise, especially couples, that financial pressures and personality differences, their marriage probably isn't going to last. What I have found is most conflict is not understanding the personality factors, not recognizing what's going on and relating to the other person based on how they communicate and process, not how you do. So they probably didn't know to take the time to figure that out. But usually with multi-level marketing, a lot of those companies will teach you personalities. What I have found is people don't take that knowledge and apply it to their relationships in a way that's actually beneficial. So the C personalities can tend to feel to the other person closed off, distant. They can be very critical and controlling at times. It can be hard to get them to talk about things. They can tend toward perfectionism and they don't handle chaos or sudden change very well. Being wrong and being criticized are their greatest fears. And then a D is straightforward. So they can tend to make a C feel belittled, wrong all of the time, and weak without even realizing it. And I think that may have been happening here. It does appear, though, that she's really trying to make it work. Because, like, you can look in her Facebook. So, like, for instance, on Facebook, on their anniversary, she had like a slideshow and she wrote this. 7 years ago, I fell in love with you. 5 years ago, I married my best friend, my soulmate. I married you. Chris, these have been the best years of our life. Our love just grows strong every day. We have two beautiful girls that call us mommy and daddy. We sold a house, moved to Colorado 5 years ago, and built a home for our family. You make me a better person. You believe in me. We have dreams and goals together. You understand me. You put up with me. I love you more than words can say, and God placed you in my life at the right time. I couldn't imagine life without you. Happy anniversary. And that was close to him killing her.
Jeez. But obviously he didn't think that way.
Right. But he wouldn't say anything because that typically is the way people communicate of his personality. They usually just keep things in and they either self-medicate or they blow up. Now, I'm a D.
On his interviews, he didn't say much. When neighbor was showing the tape and he was pacing, he didn't say, he moved.
But you sure could see something was weird there, which we'll watch.
Yeah.
Even
Now,
the neighbor.
as a D, I just want to let people know that D's can be extremely tenderhearted, especially toward family. And you can tell by the way she interacted with her girls. She wanted to be home a lot with them. She was fiercely protective of them, which actually caused a big problem. So they can have a tough exterior, but they feel things just like everybody else to a degree. It really depends on what it is. So if it's something with their family or their loved ones and relationships, they can be really impacted and it can hurt them a lot. So I know she was a really good mom. And I'm sure she was frustrated at times trying to get Chris to do things for her or with her or come out of his shell. So, like having to ask him to do something more than once was probably very frustrating. I remember in early years of me and Mike's marriage, that was a lot of our fights. And so Now, Shanann did not cause Chris to kill her.
No.
So I want to say that, but I just wanted to kind of show the dynamic that I picked up from seeing them interact on video, things like that. And then I also think Chris was a psychopath, which we'll get into later. And I also believe he was shut down a long time ago. Long time ago.
He what?
He shut down.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I found interesting is when you look at the Facebook where Chris was on there, which by the way, C's hate being videoed, picture taken for Facebook and stuff. They don't like it. If you look at a lot of C's on Facebook, they don't even have a profile picture. And if they do, it's like their pet, you know, so they're just extremely private. So I can't imagine how he felt when he came home and the phone was going for her to tell him they were expecting a baby. Like he acted pretty well, but
Yes.
I bet he hated that.
Why do you think he shut down a long time before?
Because his behavior before he murdered, he was already acting weird. And then from some of her text messages, you can tell he was already out. He would try to play the part, but she could tell something was wrong.
It was a fair.
Yeah, but even before that, like he started training and losing weight before he met that girl. So,
How
huh?
old was he?
I think they were in their 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was probably just years of her making him feel a certain way that caused him to start shutting down. Not to say that's why I murdered her, but you know what I mean? Like it was, again, a perfect storm was brewing. But you know, you have other people in marriages where they don't kill their entire family just because they have a wife maybe that doesn't know how to interact in a way that's good.
Right.
So, she did suspect that he was having an affair because he didn't want sex anymore. He was distant. There were hours where she couldn't get a hold of him or he wouldn't reply to her text. And then when, you know, she revealed on Facebook that she was pregnant, people were like, oh, he's very excited, but I don't think so. Let me show you the video. I see something different. Maybe I'm wrong, but let me pull up this link and let's watch it and you guys tell me what you think. Oh, good grief. I guess we have to go through the commercial.
Brand new video shows us inside the home life of a pregnant mom and a husband suspected now of killing her and their little girls. This is a moment from Facebook when Shanann Watts reveals to her husband, Chris, they're expecting their third child.
We did it again. I like that shirt.
Mary.
That's awesome.
However, if he is a C,
Means
That's just the test.
I know. They just said the pink is gonna be girls.
I don't know. It's the test.
That's awesome. Guess when you want to see what happens.
Okay, what do y'all think?
well, C, being that he's a C, first of all, he was kind of acting, but not because he was a psychopath, in my opinion, but because he's a C personality. It's difficult to show the emotion you're supposed to.
Oh yeah, I can't.
in
That
public.
video doesn't show me he's a psychopath. He's definitely a C, but just the way he stopped
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, he has to adjust to being on video again. And then just that phrase where he said, I guess when you want it, it happens.
Yeah.
It was like, okay. And then he goes, wow. Okay. So like when I told Mike I was pregnant, he in his C way was very excited. And I knew he was excited. You know, he's like smiling ear to ear. And our situation wasn't the best. I mean, we weren't married yet. You know, we're young kids. How are we going to take care of a baby? I was still adjusting to the idea. He was super excited. And so it's just kind of, he was definitely muted, which is a typical C, but it just, I don't know. It just felt off to me, even for a C, but I couldn't gauge it for sure.
Towards the end, I thought he was sort of forcing his reaction towards the end of the video. Not to mention, who wants to be videoed like that? You know, the whole world knows.
Right.
You do that in private.
Right. But for her being the DI or ID that she was, oh no, she's going to live it all on social media. So we can't really gauge, is he excited and he's just like he's not wanting to be on camera and all of that, or does he not want another baby? And then he looks at the test and it's almost like, I was like, why are you looking at the test? Are you just trying to have something to say? So you're examining the test?
Right.
And then she corrected him on like
Well,
what he was.
and it's weird. Like he thought pink meant girls. I'm like, where have you been? You know, pink doesn't.
That was sort of a little dig at him, I think.
Yeah.
Obviously, he knew that it's not going to tell it was a girl.
I don't know if he knew. It
Sort
just,
of, most men, I mean, they had 2 kids, know what a pregnancy test is. So he sort of humiliated him a little bit. I could see where people be angry with her the way she was, but not to the
well, she
extent.
just said it's the test. We don't know yet. It's the test. I didn't feel like she's getting onto him or making him feel bad. I just think he looks stupid not being able to read a pregnancy test. But just the fact that he was looking at the test, it was just weird. But it could be weird because he's on camera and he doesn't know what to do with himself. Okay.
Right.
So now at this time, when he finds out she's pregnant, he's already seeing another woman.
Hey, real quick, had they already filed bankruptcy at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah. So they've already gone through that. He's already met this lady at work. And I just didn't feel like he was genuinely excited. However, I have a very strong C in Kent. And the most excitement I see Kent have is a smile.
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. Now they're expecting this other child. Shanann doesn't know that he's already having an affair. And she also didn't get along with her in-laws. And that sounds like a really weird dynamic here. It sounds like they spoiled Chris rotten.
Was she suspecting the affair before she got pregnant?
That was a question that just popped in my head, and I was trying to remember for my research.
Uh-huh.
I'm not positive. If I thought that, it's probably in my notes,
Because she may have thought that would help.
which happens a lot.
Like a
Yeah.
lot of people think that, yeah.
Yeah,
FYI, it does not.
it does not. Yeah.
Never.
So his parents didn't attend the wedding either, just like the DeFeo. Yeah. And they felt that she was taking him away from them.
Oh,
How?
was he the only child?
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
Nope.
How taken away from him?
I have no idea.
However, if she had a really strong D personality, that could have been a real concern to them.
Maybe they just sound like they spoiled him and they were too involved just from what I researched. It's just kind of an interesting take on your son getting married. Like I didn't think of Christy taking Kent away. I thought of I was getting a daughter in love, you know.
She's a sweetheart and totally different
Yeah.
personality. I mean,
That's true. If she was
very
Yeah.
strong, aggressive, and come
And
off
that-
like a jerk.
Yeah, if someone acted like that to one of you or the
That's
grandkids, I'd think, boy, they're sort of jerk. You run as fast as you can.
yeah, that's true.
Mm.
So on June 27th, 2018, Shanann takes her girls to North Carolina for a 5-week vacation. and Chris stayed home at work. And it was around this time that Chris and a coworker named Nicole Kessinger had seriously started dating now. They had already been kind of forming something here. Now they're actually dating. He had put his contact info into her phone on June 17th, and by June or 14th, by June 17th, he told her that he was married with kids, but they were in the process of separating, and they weren't.
But then she leaves for 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
She left for 5 weeks?
Not a good idea, FYI.
No.
Say 5 weeks, or 5 days.
Weeks.
Why'd she leave 5 weeks?
A
Vacation.
vacation.
They had to have separated or something. Nobody
No,
goes
she
on.
was vacationing.
They were
For
not
5 weeks?
separated. She
No,
went on vacation to visit her family for 5 weeks with the grandkids, and then he had to stay there and work. And so during that initial time, the relationship between him and this Nicole lady really intensified. On June 19th, Shanann posted her first ultrasound of the new baby on Facebook and added that her husband was the best dad us girls could ask for. And she also posted a loving tribute to her husband on Facebook for Father's Day, saying, Chris, we are so incredibly blessed to have you. You are the reason I was brave enough to agree to number 3.
It just seems odd, back to the 5 weeks. You're pregnant, you're suspicious of your husband.
I don't know if she was yet.
I thought you said she was suspicious before she got pregnant.
I don't know yet. You asked me if you think
Right.
she was, and I wasn't sure yet, and I said it'd be in my notes
Oh.
if I did think so.
So, but whenever, okay, let's say she agreed and it was something he wanted. So his comment about, if you want something, you get it. That could have been to himself.
It could until we read text later.
Oh,
So it sounds like there was a miscommunication actually. And
Okay.
I don't know if he and her talked about it and he never really said how he truly felt and he was just agreeing with her and she was the one that wanted it, or if he brought it up and she wasn't sure. I'm not sure, but there was an obvious disconnect based on text messages later. So while on vacation, July 4th, Kessinger goes to the Watts house for the first time to set up his diet and weight loss exercise goals, she told the police. She said that they had lunch, they ate, and she left. But according to Watts, he woke up to several missed calls from his wife on the morning of July 4th because he was at Kessinger's home.
Wow.
oh.
Yeah. So, it's like, okay, are you lying? Anyway, there's just a lot of that stuff going on. So let me share my screen. And this is where they went to on July 14th, they go to a date to a car museum. And that night, Shanann made 4 calls to her husband and all went unanswered. This is a semi-nude photo that Kessinger sent Chris of herself, which he stored on a secret calculator app on his phone.
How do you do that on a calculator app?
It's probably meant to hide stuff. And then Chris and Kessinger visited the Great Sand Dunes National Park and spent the night at a nearby campground. July 30th, he gave her a love letter before he left town to join his family on their summer vacation for a week. A kiss, a touch, a smile, a squeeze, a look, a laugh, a tickle, a tease. And then on the inside, he has lyrics to a song called Down to Earth by the band Through the Roots. So you can see that they're definitely escalating. Here's a picture of him and her. And this is August 4th. While Chris was gone, Kessinger started looking for wedding dresses on the internet.
Oh my.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's more here of these text messages we'll get to. This is on August 11th. Chris hired a babysitter when Shanann was gone. He told her that he went to a Colorado Rockies game with his coworkers, but he actually took Kessinger on a date to a sports bar in Erie, Colorado.
Wow.
So Oh, and then he sent this picture to her, if I'm not mistaken. So at this point, he'd already been working on his fitness goals, because you can tell, like right here, even here, you know, he's definitely worked on losing some weight, different things like that. But this is, you know, he was really intensifying his training here. And it sounds like his girlfriend was also a fitness buff. And so they were, you know, they kind of had this common ground of being fit and stuff. And so it sounds like she was helping him with his weight loss goals. Later, he told investigators that he was drawn to Kessinger because she made him feel that she was pursuing him instead of him having to pursue her.
Mhm.
So
That sort of fits him, right? His personality.
yeah. And so you can tell that by this time, him and Shanann, their marriage is not good. You know, and that happens a lot when you have young children, you've got the financial problems they had. It just kind of sucks the life out of marriage. And so maybe he didn't feel like he's being pursued by his wife, which Adi is very independent. And if Adi doesn't learn to make the other person feel pursued and important and needed, that can definitely happen. So, as time went on, Chris was getting more and more bold about his relationship with her. Like he wasn't hiding it like he was before as much. So on July 30th, Chris gave Kessinger a love letter before he left. But things weren't great. And it appears that Shanann had a confrontation with Chris's parents because his mom gave little Cece nuts and she's allergic to them.
Oh gosh.
And so
Oh.
because of their fight, they decide not to go to Celeste's birthday party. And let me pull up these messages that they had. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. So this is some of the things. She sends him a long text message about the fight. So you can believe I created this dagger, but I didn't do that. I stood up for our kids. I advocated and protected our children. I don't ever want to hear, I'm sorry I killed your kid because I was stupid. That would kill me. These kids are my world, and I have to protect them from the evil of the world. I shouldn't have to protect them from the evil family. Our kids deserve the same love and attention that other kids get, nothing less. I'm not accepting I'm sorry from your mom because she doesn't mean it and she knew what she was doing. I made it very clear not to eat around Celeste because she doesn't understand. Way before that happened, she's evil and willing to risk your daughter's life just to get under my skin. You and your dad are no different. If you're okay with their behavior, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not crazy. I love my kids way too much. And then listen to this. From the day I left, you never said I missed you before I said it. Something changed when I left. You may be happier alone, and that's fine. You can be alone. This pregnancy, you have failed to acknowledge it or to acknowledge how I'm feeling. The first trimester is the scariest, the most dangerous. We can lose this baby at any point till delivery. I'm not going to be treated this way for having the balls to protect our family and kids. I should get a cold ducking, I think she meant to say the other word, medal for handling it the way I did because I had a lot of choice words to say to her, blah, blah. And so later, she contacted her friend and shared some text messages with him, obviously overly dramatic.
Right.
But
I doubt the mother did that on purpose.
I don't know.
I don't know. However,
If you don't believe like
Right.
he's got a nut allergy. Sorry, go ahead.
Right.
but she also brought out other things that were bothering her.
Mhm.
And so